Some chairs hold more than people. They hold memory. And tonight, as the Thanksgiving table fills with voices and light, one chair sits quietly apart. The napkin is folded neatly. The plate rests untouched. It is an ordinary absence, yet it speaks louder than the laughter that rises around it. The room smells of roasted turkey and cinnamon pie. Candles tremble against the draft of an opening door. A child runs past with hurried footsteps, carrying silverware that clatters as it lands on the table. All around, there is the soft hum of a holiday. Pots clinking in the kitchen, conversations weaving over one another like threads in a tapestry. It is noisy, warm, alive. And yet, that single chair draws the eye again and again, as if it were a guest with something to say. I glance at it and then quickly away. Gratitude is supposed to be the air we breathe on this day. We're told to count blessings, to list them neatly as though they were coins in a jar, a roof, a job, a family, health, and all of those things matter. But meaning, Frankl reminds us, is not about perfection or plenty. Meaning lives in the cracks, in what remains when life does not give us everything we hope to keep. The chair is one of those cracks. It holds the place of someone who should be here. Someone who once laughed loudest at the jokes or carved the turkey with practiced hands. Maybe it is a grandmother's seat, maybe a father's, maybe a friend's who moved far away. Whoever it belongs to, it shapes the table like a shadow stitched into light. I take in the flicker of the candles and the shine of polished cutlery. Around me, voices rise in cheerful rhythm. Someone tells a story from last year. Another reaches for the gravy. But even in this circle of warmth, a quieter truth lingers. Gratitude is not the absence of longing. Gratitude is the courage to hold longing and presence together without shame. My eyes return to the chair once more. It is not empty in the way a forgotten seat in a cafe is empty. It is filled with memory, words once spoken, gestures once seen, love once given. And so it carries weight. The chair does not let me pretend that everything is whole. Instead, it reminds me that wholeness is not the measure of meaning. Connection is. There is a hush for a moment, just long enough for me to hear my own breathing. The fork in my hand feels heavier than usual. The light on the table glows against the rim of my glass, and I realize this scene, the chatter, the food, the chair, is asking me to stay present. Not to run from the ache, not to deny the joy, but to hold both in the same room, as honestly as I can. The meal is not just food. It is the way we gather what remains. It is how we honor those here and those absent. It is the practice of remembering that life's meaning is not diminished by loss. It is deepened by it. So the chair stands as the quiet symbol of the evening, a place that is empty and full at once. A reminder that even when someone is gone, love can still sit at the table, woven invisibly into the feast. I don't know if everyone notices it the way I do. Some may laugh past it or avoid glancing its way, but to me, the chair is part of the story of Thanksgiving. It tells me that presence is more than bodies. Presence is memory carried forward. And as I breathe into this truth, I wonder, maybe the chair is not there to remind me of what's missing, but to teach me to see what still remains. I smiled across the table, but inside I was counting who wasn't here. It's a strange kind of arithmetic, one that isn't written on paper, but on the heart. The table is long, the food abundant, the chatter warm. And still my eyes drift again and again to the chair that no one will fill tonight. Gratitude and grief sit side by side, and I don't know which one I am allowed to feel. Thanksgiving carries with it an unspoken rule. Be cheerful, be thankful, be full. We pass the cranberry sauce and the jokes with equal eagerness because this is supposed to be the holiday of abundance. But behind every laugh, there is the quiet hum of pressure. Don't ruin the moment. Don't let the sadness show. Smile. And no one will ask questions you aren't ready to answer. I take another bite of pie, though I don't taste it. My hand folds neatly into my lap as if good manners might disguise the truth. But the truth doesn't disappear. It echoes in the chair's silence. Maybe you know this too, the feeling of being surrounded by people and still carrying loneliness like a hidden weight. The contradiction is almost cruel, to love the ones who are here and still ache for the ones who are not, to want to be present, yet feel pulled backward by memory. It feels like betrayal to admit that gratitude and sorrow can exist in the same breath. And yet, the chair teaches otherwise. Each time I glance at it, I realize it grows heavier, not because it is empty, but because I am carrying the burden of pretending it doesn't matter. Pretending costs energy. Pretending carves a hollow inside the chest that food and laughter cannot fill. The child at the far end of the table waves a fork in the air, telling a story no one can quite follow, and everyone laughs anyway. The joy is real. I see it, I hear it, I even feel it in small bursts like sparks. But between sparks, the ache returns. It whispers, "You're supposed to be grateful. Why does this still hurt?" Here is the contradiction, the hidden wound of the holiday. Gratitude is preached as a cure, but sometimes it feels like a mask. And masks, even well-meaning ones, get heavy when worn too long. I sip water, let the glass cool against my lip, and try to breathe slowly. What if I let the ache be here, without shame? What if I stop trying to choose between joy and longing, and instead allow both to take a seat at the table? Because the truth is, absence is also part of belonging. The people we miss are proof of the love we carry. The empty chair is not an intruder at the feast, it is a witness. To deny it is to deny the depth of our own hearts. I look again. This time, I don't glance away. The chair is heavy, yes, but perhaps it does not have to be hidden. Perhaps acknowledging it is the most honest kind of gratitude, the kind that says, I am thankful not only for what I have, but for what I had. I am thankful that love was here, and that it remains even in memory. The napkin rests where no hand will unfold it tonight. The candle nearest the chair flickers a little taller, as if to say that light can stretch into spaces we once thought unreachable. And I realize absence sits with us too. Naming it doesn't erase the joy. It only makes the joy more real, more tender, more earned. The fork slips from my hand and lands against the plate with a soft clink. No one notices, or at least they pretend not to. Around me, the current of conversation flows steadily. Jokes about football, stories about work, the rhythm of family banter. But inside, something has cracked open, and I can't go back to holding it in. It begins with a child's voice, clear, unguarded, innocent. "Who's supposed to sit there?" the little one asks, pointing a small finger toward the empty chair. The room stills for half a breath. Adults exchange glances. Someone clears a throat. A laugh, nervous and thin, tries to smooth the moment over, but it's too late. The question has been asked, and the silence that follows is louder than any answer we could give. The chair stares back at us, unblinking. For weeks, maybe months, we've tried to step around it, as if not naming the absence would make it lighter. But now, in the wide eyes of a child, it's unavoidable. Who's supposed to sit there? The words hang in the air, echoing louder than the clatter of dishes or the hum of conversation. Something inside me shifts. I realize that denial has been my way of surviving, smiling through, laughing enough, pouring gravy as though my hands weren't trembling. But the cost of denial is steep. It robs me of the present. It makes the laughter thinner, the gratitude forced, the food tasteless. It is as if by refusing to acknowledge the ache, I have drained the joy along with it. I look again at the chair. For the first time tonight, I don't see only emptiness. I see the shape of memory, stories told, hands folded, love poured into this very space. The chair is not only a symbol of loss, it is also a vessel of presence. The one who is gone still speaks here, not in words we can hear, but in the way their absence has carved meaning into the room. My chest tightens, not in pain this time, but in recognition. This is the crack moment. The realization that pretending does not protect me, it imprisons me. To stay silent is to let the holiday slip past in shallow motions. To face the truth, even with tears, is to recover what Thanksgiving was always meant to be, a gathering of what remains. I let my breath slow, my eyes sting. I imagine the missing one laughing at a joke from years ago, their voice warm and steady. For a moment, I swear I hear it ripple through the laughter around the table, and suddenly the room feels fuller, not emptier. The child is still waiting for an answer. Someone gently says, "That was Grandma's chair." There's a pause. And then, almost without effort, stories begin to surface. A memory of her pies, a joke she used to tell, the way she hummed while washing dishes. One story begets another, and the room grows lighter, not because the loss has disappeared, but because the truth has finally been invited to sit with us. The crack is not the end of the table's joy, it is the doorway into it. In naming what hurts, we create space for love to breathe again. The empty chair no longer shouts absence, it whispers presence. It holds the invisible threads that tie us to one another across time, across distance, across loss. And in that moment, I know denial robs us of the present as much as loss does, but honesty, even when it stings, returns us to life. The chair is still empty, but tonight it feels alive with memory, and that is enough to shift the whole room. The table has grown quieter since the child's question. The stories ripple out like small waves, and for the first time all evening, I feel the room exhale. The chair still sits untouched, but now it carries more than absence. It holds memory, and strangely, it holds belonging. Viktor Frankl once said that we cannot always choose our circumstances, but we can choose our stance toward them. His words come back to me now as if they've been waiting for a night like this. I can't control who is missing at the table. I can't erase the ache that tugs at my chest. But I can decide whether to close my heart in fear of the pain or open it to let both love and longing sit together. For so long, I thought gratitude had to be pure, polished, unshadowed by grief. But Frankl's wisdom reminds me that meaning is not found in the absence of pain, but in how we live alongside it. This holiday isn't perfect, the table isn't full, and yet perhaps the cracks are what allow meaning to shine through most clearly. The candle near the chair burns a little steadier now. Its flame is thin but sure, glowing against the plate no one will touch. I imagine Frankl at this table noticing the way we hesitate. The way we try to mask discomfort. He would not tell us to be cheerful. He would tell us that even this silence, this ache, is part of life's fabric, and that life's task is not to erase hardship, but to respond to it with dignity. I glance at the people around me. Their faces are tender, softened by stories. One relative wipes a quiet tear, then smiles. Another shifts in their seat, shoulders easing as though they finally put down a weight. In the honesty of this moment, we are more together than we have been all evening. The empty chair no longer divides us, it unites us. It is the reminder that what we miss is also what we share. The loss is real, but so is the love that shaped it. And Frankl's lesson echoes. Meaning is not about escaping sorrow. It is about choosing how to carry it and what to make of it. I take a slow breath. For the first time, gratitude doesn't feel forced. It feels earned. Not of a denial of what hurts, but a recognition of what endures. Love endures. Memory endures. Connection endures. And when I choose to see it, meaning endures, even here. This shift is small, almost invisible from the outside. No one at the table knows that my chest feels lighter, that my fork tastes the food again, that my eyes no longer avoid the chair, but I know. And that is enough. The lesson of this holiday is not that abundance cancels absence. It is that love can hold both. The feast is not less sacred because one seat is unfilled. If anything, it is more so, because we gather in full knowledge of life's fragility, and still we choose to share what remains. Frankl taught that even in the harshest conditions, people could choose their attitude, their response, their meaning. And tonight, I see how that applies even in the ordinary rhythm of a family meal. My choice is simple, but it matters. To let the empty chair be a reminder of love, not a prison of loss. The candlelight flickers, and for a moment it feels as though the whole room is breathing with it, fragile, luminous, alive. The realization has softened the air, but meaning becomes real only when it moves into action. It is one thing to feel gratitude stirring quietly inside. It is another to let it change the way we live. Frankl believed that meaning is not something we find only in thought. It is something we practice, one small choice at a time. So what does that look like here? At a Thanksgiving table with an empty chair. It doesn't have to be grand. In fact, it shouldn't be. Meaning often enters the room through gestures so small they could almost be missed. One simple act. Rest your hand gently on the back of the chair and to let yourself remember a story. Even if just for a breath. Maybe it's the way she used to hum while cooking. Maybe it's the way he told the same joke every year and everyone laughed anyway. In that moment, the chair is no longer just a symbol of absence. It becomes a doorway back into connection. You honor the love that shaped you. Another act. Speak one memory aloud. A sentence is enough. She made the best pies. He always carved the turkey too thin. The words don't have to be polished. They just need to be true. As they fall into the room, others may join. Before you know it, laughter and tears mingle, and the table feels more alive, not less. Or perhaps you take pen and paper later tonight and write 3 small gratitudes. Not the sweeping kind, just the real, ordinary things. The smell of cinnamon, the sound of children's footsteps, the glow of candlelight against glass. Gratitude is strongest when it is specific, when it names the details that make life shimmer. These lists don't erase grief, but they balance it with light. And then there are the gestures that reach outward. A quick message. I'm thankful for you. It takes less than a minute, but the impact lingers for hours, even days. Gratitude multiplies when shared. It reminds us that connection doesn't end with those at the table. It stretches beyond walls and miles, tying us to the wider circle of our lives. These practices are small, but they matter. They keep the empty chair from being only a wound. They transform it into a reminder of what is still possible. Each gesture is a way of saying, I will not let silence be the final word. I will choose love again and again in ways I can manage today. It's tempting to think that healing comes through big, dramatic changes, but the truth is quieter. Healing often hides inside routines, the washing of a single dish, the lighting of a candle, the writing of a name. It is in the repetition of these tiny choices that we build trust with ourselves, proof that we can live with both joy and sorrow in the same breath. As I look at the chair once more, I realize it doesn't have to be solved. It doesn't need to be filled. What it needs is recognition, respect, and a small act of gratitude to keep its meaning alive. The child who asked earlier now places a flower on the plate. It is a simple gesture, unplanned, instinctive. The adults smile softly. The chair looks less like absence and more like presence now, holding memory tenderly in its quiet space. This is how meaning enters the room. Not with speeches, not with perfection, but with small gestures anyone can do. And so, I carry this forward. Gratitude is not a mood. It is a practice. It is lived in the touch of a hand, the speaking of a name, the sending of a message. Without these gestures, the chair stays empty. With them, the chair tells a different story. A story of love that continues, even here, even now. The candles have burned low. their wax softening into quiet pools. The plates are mostly cleared, though a few crumbs still cling to the tablecloth. The chatter that once spilled over in waves has slowed into gentle currents, voices softer, almost reflective. And there it is, the chair, still untouched, still set, still waiting. Earlier, it was a weight, a reminder of absence too sharp to name. But now, after the stories and the gestures, after the child's question and the laughter that followed, the chair has shifted. It no longer feels like a hollow space. It feels like a vessel holding memory, holding love, holding the invisible presence of what we've shared and lost and still carry. This is what Thanksgiving has become tonight. Not a performance of cheer, but a practice of honesty. Not the denial of longing, but the weaving of longing into gratitude. Meaning, Frankl said, is what allows us to bear what life demands. And tonight, meaning sits at the table with us in the form of a chair that will never again be filled the way it once was, and yet somehow still fills the room. I look around. Faces are tired but softened. The air is lighter, as if some hidden weight has been lifted simply by naming what was true. For the first time, I feel that gratitude is not something I have to force. It has risen naturally, tender as a candle flame. Gratitude for what remains, gratitude for what was, gratitude for the chance to sit here now, even with an ache still in my chest. The chair holds all of it, absence and presence, memory and love, grief and gratitude. Its quiet message is simple. Life is not whole, and it does not need to be. Meaning is not perfection. It is the courage to remain at the table even when someone is missing, to still light the candles, to still share the stories, to still taste the sweetness alongside the salt. And so I leave tonight not with answers, but with one clear practice: to let my life hold space for both, to speak gratitude when I can, and to honor memory when I must. To know that emptiness itself can be sacred if I choose to treat it as a reminder of love rather than a punishment for loss. Before the last candle is blown out, I glance at the chair once more. A small flower rests there, placed by little hands earlier in the evening. It leans slightly to one side, fragile, imperfect, but beautiful, and I realize this is enough. This is what it means to carry love forward, not by erasing the ache, but by allowing it to bloom into gentleness. The chair is still empty, but tonight, it also feels full of memory, full of presence, full of meaning that will linger even when the table is cleared and the lights go dark. And so I carry this question with me as the night closes. What will I choose to make of the empty chairs in my own life? Because each of us has them. They may not be at the holiday table. They may not even be visible to others, but we all know the spaces that ache. And we all hold the power to decide whether those spaces will remain only wounds or whether they can become reminders of the love that shaped us. The answer is not given once and for all. It is chosen again and again in small ways, every day. With each memory we honor, with each gesture of gratitude we offer, we fill the emptiness with meaning. The night ends quietly. The candles flicker one last time before soft breath extinguishes them. Darkness settles in, but the glow remains inside, steady as a promise. The chair is still here, silent, waiting. And perhaps that is the gift, to know that even in silence, even in absence, love can still sit with us, if only we let it.